In the room with me today I have Paul Free and Andy Allen, and on Starleaf we have Stephen Dunn, Ciara Ferguson and Aisling Riley. You're all very welcome. Can I then ask members if they have any declaration of interest that they need to let us know at this stage? No? Okay, then I'm going to move on to agenda. Oh, sorry, Stephen. No, Stephen's stand down. I'm going to move on to agenda item 1, apologies, just to let you know that Kelly Armstrong, the Vice Chair, is just running a wee bit late. We'll be with us shortly. No other apologies, anybody? No, okay. I'm going to then move on to agenda item 2, which is the draft minutes. Members, you'll find the draft minutes of the meeting of the 18th of January 2022 are at page 5. Can I ask then our members agree the minutes as drafted?
Agreed.
Agreed, thank you. Okay then, agenda item 3, chairperson's business. Members, before we go into deliberations on the betting bill, can I ask on another matter if you're content that we share the department's recent briefing papers on the budget and monitoring round with Raise to assist them with papers that they're preparing to assist all MLAs with budget scrutiny? Agreed? Good stuff, okay. Then I'll move on to agenda item 4 then, which is committee deliberations on the betting, gaming, lotteries and amusements amendment bill. So members, the committee will now conclude its deliberations. This is not yet to the formal clause by clause stage. We'll hopefully get to that later on in the meeting. We are firstly going to go through with the officials the 2 responses from the department from last week's meeting, and also also the text of the amendments the Minister has agreed to take forward. The departmental responses to queries raised at the meeting on Tuesday the 18th of January is at page 19 of your packs, and the responses to queries raised at the meeting on Thursday the 20th of January, and the text of amendments is in your tabled papers. We've also been provided via email by the clerk with the updated deliberations table, which summarises both these departmental responses to each clause. Members, you've also been provided a page 61 with a note of the Zoom event with young people that was held last Wednesday evening. A copy of the bill is at page 66. Previous departmental replies start at page 265, and the evidence summary tables start at page 320. As always, Claire McCanny from the Bill's Office will be following proceedings today. So are members in agreement to proceed?
Agreed.
Okay. Agreed. Thank you. Members, just to remind you that any comments or questions you have, can you be focused on the specific clause that's under discussion? I know a couple of them they drift in and out into another clause, but if we can try and be as focused as possible. So we'll then bring in the officials from the department. So can then we bring in Martina Campbell and Kieran May? Nurse Kieran? Martina there?
Martina's not there yet. Sean has gone to
okay.
her.
We can wait, I think would be better. Kieran, Martina's not on our system yet, so we're just going to wait a few moments. We'll just...
that's fine, Chair. Yep, that's fine.
Is that all right, Kieran? So we'll just
mute. Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
All right, we'll just mute the meeting then in a minute. We'll just wait for Martina to come in.
We've muted the meeting.
She thought it was closed, so she should be in now though.
I definitely told her it was. I'm pretty sure I told her it was something right, but it swapped that many times. I've lost the plot.
It's quite a few times, but Kieran's
there. He knows, yeah.
I can't see the bottom of the screen. Is she there now?
She's there now, yeah.
All right, okay. All right, there we see Martina now, so we can open up the meeting again. Okay, Martina, you're very welcome, and Kieran also. So last week you took us verbally through the key points of the responses that we now have in writing, dated the 21st of the 1st, and now we also have the second responses dated 24th of the 1st, and the text of the 2 amendments. Members, for the sake of completeness, we will go through each clause again one at a time, but I do not intend to read out all the departmental responses as you have them in your pack and table papers and summarised also in your deliberations table. I will ask the officials to highlight key points as we get to each clause in turn where we are still deliberating. So we'll just begin then with clause 1, interpretation. There are no queries have been raised on this by committee, so we'll move then on to clause 2, which is opening of licensed offices on Sunday and Good Friday. Again then, Martina, I'll pass that over to you. Highlight any key points you wish to confirm in the responses to these clauses?
Chair, we've no further comments to make on that.
Okay, that's fine. Members, anything further they want to comment on clause 2? No more than what we've already commented? Yeah. Okay. Then we'll move on to clause 3, Sunday working in licensed offices. Again, Martina, highlight any key points you wish to confirm in the responses to this clause.
Okay, Chair, thanks. We have, as you said, you have our responses to last Thursday's meeting, but just highlight that in response to the request from Mr. Allen to develop some guidance for workers. We reviewed the original correspondence between our minister and Mrs. Dodds, and I reproduced in the response to you an extract from that. So just to confirm that there is guidance already available on Sunday working on Northern NI Direct. And of course, the Labour Relations Agency is always available to provide advice to employers and employees. But in summary, I will confirm that we will work with colleagues in Department for Economy to see if there's any additional advice required on this. And if so, we'll update committee in due course. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Martina. Members, anything further that they want to ask or add, and any comments around clause 3, Sunday working? No. Okay, we're going to then move on to clause 4, pool betting. No queries were raised by the committee. Members, any further comments today on that? No. Okay, then we will move on then to clause 5, persons who may participate in bingo at bingo clubs. No queries were raised by the committee. Again, I'll ask members, have you anything that you want to raise now on that issue? Speak now, or forever hold your peace. Nope. Okay. Then we'll move on to clause 6, days when bingo and use of gaming machines permitted in bingo club premises. Again, I'll go back to you, Martina, and just ask you if you highlight any key points you wish to confirm in the responses to this clause.
Certainly. So just confirm that we've sent through what responses we've got already from court service, and just to point out that this is a manual trawl through papers, so it's taken a wee bit longer than expected to get those returns, but we'll send the full and final copy through as soon as it's completed. On the point about a register of purchasers of gaming machines, no such register exists at the minute, but we will look at including that requirement in the code of practice and work with suppliers to agree to develop such a register, Chair. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Martina. Okay, members, on clause 6, is there any further comment members wish to make on clause 6? No.
Just not to repeat what, but I've still the concerns around 6 as I have with 2, so not to repeat it all, just to put it on record.
All right, thank you, Paul. We're going to then move on. If members are in agreement, we'll move on to clause 7, which is offence of inviting, etc., persons under 18 to play gaming machines. Again, Martina, highlight any key points you wish to confirm in your responses to the committee.
Yes, Chair. We said that during the second stage debate, as well as in our earlier announcement about her proposals to reform gambling law here, the Minister stated that owing to the scale of the reforms needed, her proposed approach, which was agreed by the Executive, was for a two-phased approach. So this bill is the first phase, and primarily aimed at land-based gambling, simplifying the rules around promotional and prize draw competitions, and increasing fundraising opportunities for small charities, sports clubs and other societies. Phase 2 of the reforms will be subject to the views of an incoming Minister and Executive, but it is estimated that given the scale of reform needed, for example, revised definitions around gaming machines, regulation of online and remote gambling, and whether or not we should have a regulator, and if so, the form and functions of such an office, that a completely new regulatory framework will be required. In terms of estimating the scale, based on the provisions contained within the Gambling Act 2005 in Britain, which is currently also under review, it is estimated that a new act would be required for here of similar size and structure. So that the existing Gambling Act 2005 has 362 clauses and 18 schedules. The current 1985 order here has 187 articles and 20 schedules, and the legislation in the south is spread across a number of acts, and it's currently under review as well. It had been Minister's intention to include revised definitions of gaming machines in this bill, in particular to make it explicit that FOBTs were covered within the 85 order. However, OLC cautioned against importing definitions or clauses from the Gambling Act 2005 owing to the age, language and structure of the 1985 order. So on foot of this advice from OLC, Minister requested Departmental Solicitor's Office to review previous advice that the Department had received on FOBTs, particularly in the light of tax tribunals and Supreme Court rulings in England. So based on that legal advice, we are satisfied that FOBTs are captured by the definition of the gaming machine as set out in Article 2.2 of the order. On notices, on the Code of Practice, the Department confirms that it will include a requirement for notices to be displayed on machines aimed at over 18-year-olds, clearly stating that the machines are for them over 18s only. On the gaming machines, there is a section included in the Code of Practice, the draft Code of Practice on gaming machines, but we will review that section whenever we have analysed all the responses, and we will take on board any recommendations the committee makes. We've also included within the draft code guidance on Think 21, and we will be updating our existing leaflets on gaming machines, and we'll cross-refer it to the Code of Practice, and of course take on board any views that the committee have expressed in their forthcoming report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Martina. Anybody any further comment they want or any questions on clause 7? Nope.
Just on a wider piece, Martina, when you raise the issue around the next piece of legislation and the wording between the 85 order and whatever fresh legislation, just to say that I like the idea of repealing law and then renewing it completely. Now I know that takes a lot of time and harder work, but to me it's a completer piece rather than trying to add fresh law onto existing law. Sooner or later you run out of road, I believe, in that regard, so it's better to I think assemblies do, and this goes right across the world, basically it's a general issue, we don't repeal enough law. So in a general stance, my position would be to refresh everything.
We're completely 100% behind you on that. You are quite right. We've run out of road on the 1985 order, which is why we can't do what we really wanted to do. And the new phase 2 would be a completely new act, and the 85 order then would be repealed. So I hope that provides some assurance to you on that score.
And just then on timescales, it's always better to do that mighty piece of work at the start of a mandate.
Okay, folks, anybody else, any comments they want to make in clause 7? No, all right then, we're going to move on then to clause 8, which is arrangements not requiring persons to pay to participate. Again, Martina, highlight any key points in the responses that we received? Martina, you're in silent.
Apologies, Chair. So we have provided the committee with a copy of the draft regulations. No, I'm on clause 9, am I? Oh, sorry, I'm ahead of myself. Clause 8, no further comments, Chair. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's fine. Members, any further comments on clause 8? No? All right, then we'll move on to clause 9, rules for society lotteries. So it just then, again, Martina, if you highlight key points you wish to confirm in the responses to this clause, particularly the draft regulations on society lotteries, the amendment on the ticket price in the bill, and the fact that the Minister now feels the unintended consequences she identified from that amendment do not require an additional amendment as was first envisaged. So can I ask you to explain that a bit more, please, Martina?
Certainly. So we've attached a copy of the draft regulations to our response, and want to emphasise again that we've provided these to the committee to aid their deliberations and show the direction of travel, but emphasise that they are very draft and they haven't been approved by DSO or Minister as yet. On the proposed amendments, the Minister has agreed to impose a maximum ticket price of £100, and we have provided a draft of that amendment. On the unintended consequences, in discussions with OLC, Council pointed us to the provision in Article 1374, which provides the Department with the power to vary frequency of lotteries, and taken together with the power in 13721, which is a power to amend the amounts of ticket prices, etc. Council believes that this would be sufficient, and on reflection the Department agrees and is content that we have sufficient powers within Article 137 to prohibit societies from running too many draws and selling tickets at close to or at the upper limit of £100. On the text of the amendment, do you want me to read that out, Chair? Are you happy enough?
No, just read it out just to be...
Okay, so the proposed text is clause 9, page 4, line 5. Leave out paragraph A and insert A in paragraph 5, price limit on tickets. For £1, substitute £100. So the effect of this amendment is to impose a maximum ticket price of £100 on society lottery tickets. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Martina. Paul?
Yeah, can I ask, just in the old 137, where exactly is that power do you think you have?
In paragraph, sorry, Karen, paragraph 1374 is the power to vary the frequency of lotteries, and 13721 is the power to amend the amounts, so that would include ticket price.
Okay, reading it now. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other member, any comment around clause 9? No, okay, then we'll move on then to clause 10. Qualifications by age, residence or corporate status for licences, certificates and permits. No queries were raised by the committee. Members, any further comment on that today? Clause 10? Nope, okay then, we'll move on then to clause 11. Prize competitions not requiring persons to pay to participate. Again, I'll go back to you, Martina. Highlight any key points to confirm in the response to the clause.
No further comments, Chair.
Okay, that's no problem. Members, any comments on clause 11 they wish to make?
I suspect we'll cover it in the new schedule 15A, but I'm happy enough to move on to that.
Okay, then we're going to move on to clause 12, which is cheating. Members, no issues were raised. I'll ask then members again, any issues they want to raise on clause 12? No, nothing. Then we'll move on to clause 13, enforceability of gambling contracts. Again, no queries were raised by the committee. I'm going to ask then today again, have members any queries around this clause? No, nothing. Okay. Then we'll move on to clause 14, industry levy. Martina, again, I'll go back to you then to highlight key points and particularly the text of the amendment around this. If you could go ahead.
Sure. So the amendment to clause 14.6 consultee list, we've provided the draft amendment, but for sake of completeness, the amendment reads clause 14, page 7, line 7. Leave out from the gambling to end of line 7 and insert A, persons who have suffered from or been affected by addiction to gambling or other forms of harm or exploitation associated with gambling. B, persons who have experience or knowledge of issues relating to such addiction, harm or exploitation. And C, the gambling industry in Northern Ireland. So the effect of this amendment, Chair, is to expand the list of persons that we are required to consult with in developing any regulations, and we believe this now satisfies the committee's concerns that a broad range of people would be consulted. Memorandum, we have accepted the committee's request to amend the memorandum to make it clear that the proceeds of any levy will be used to fund education, treatment and research, and this amendment's been made. And on, yes, that's it, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Martina, thank you. Members, anything further? Paul?
Yeah, I can just thank you for that. I think the education, research and treatment is a big issue, and it's good to get that nailed down, so thank you for that. And the other amendment then with regards to consultation, I suppose for me the test was, would this catch an aggrieved parent of a gambling addict? And I think it does. Persons who have suffered from or have been affected by, but just so that you give me reassurance, that's how you read it too, that family members will be able to avail of a consultation?
Yes, absolutely. So B, there are persons who have experience or knowledge of issues relating to such addiction, harm or exploitation. So that would be, and indeed A as well, persons who have suffered from or been affected by. So yes, I can confirm that clause will include parents or family members, or indeed friends or colleagues who've been affected by gambling.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Any other member want to raise anything further around clause 14? No. Okay, then we'll move on to clause 15, which is code of practice. Martina, you'll be aware there was considerable discussion around this at our last week's meeting. So can I ask you to highlight any points in your responses to the committee on this clause?
Okay, so on the code of practice, on where and how the codes will be published, we confirmed that the code of practice, once finalised, will be published and made available on the departmental website. Further, the codes will be circulated to trade associations such as NIACTA and the Turf Guardians Association. We will also circulate to licensing authorities, including the courts and councils, and to the PSNI. On awareness raising, publication of the code will be accompanied by a press release and tweets on social media, etc. The department will also consider whether or not some other form of publicity will be required, such as an event. As part of a raising awareness of the new legislation, we will be reviewing all guidance documents and leaflets, as well as information on the department's website. And we'll also consider whether or not adverts should be placed in key newspapers or trade magazines about both the legislation and the code of practice. On breaches and compliance with the codes, in finalising the codes, the department will include, as suggested by the committee, within the drafts and on the website, an email address where members of the public can send complaints. As a first stage, depending on the nature of the complaint and which type of operator it's about, we will seek the views of the local council if appropriate. If a criminal offence has been alleged, we will refer to PSNI. In all other cases, the department will deal with it. Depending on the nature of the complaint, we will write to the operator enclosing a copy of the code and reminding them of their responsibilities. We will also remind them of the implications of non-compliance. In the vast majority of cases, we believe this will be sufficient. If an operator consistently refuses to comply, we would suggest that those making the complaints object to the licence renewal and explain how they can do that. In exceptional or persistent cases, the department will lodge an objection to the licence. In finalising the codes, the department will include within the drafts, as I've said, email addresses where members of the public can send complaints. On compliance, again, in phase 2 of the reform, it is envisaged that if it is decided that a regulator should be established, then any new regulatory framework developed would wrap around the regulator to give that office the powers of investigation, enforcement and entry and any other powers to enable it to function effectively. It would be envisaged that compliance with the code would then be a mandatory condition of the licence, which would be monitored by the regulator. So the department believes that the provisions within the proposed new Article 180A(8), as inserted in the 1985 order by the bill, will act as a sufficient deterrent to operators to prevent them from non-compliance. The new article states that a failure to comply with the code does not of itself make a person liable to criminal proceedings. However, the code is admissible as evidence in any criminal or civil proceedings, must be taken into account by a court or tribunal in any case in which it appears to the court or tribunal to be relevant, and must be taken into account by the department, a court or district council in the exercise of any function under the 85 order. Under the 85 order, any person can object to a licence or permit application or renewal, or apply for the revocation of a licence or permit, and this is known as the fit person test, and this includes any member of the public. At the meeting on Thursday the 20th of January, a member asked what remedy or safeguards there would be to prevent a future minister from including within the codes measures or very strict conditions which would indirectly put an operator out of business. So I confirm that where an operator or any other member of the public is adversely affected by a ministerial decision, then that operator or person has the option to seek a judicial review of that decision, and it would then be for the High Court to determine if the decision was lawful. Finally, the department accepts the committee's suggestion that details of how to report breaches or potential breaches of the code should be included within the code and included in any literature issued by the department or enforcement authority, as well as on the department's website. So that's all I have on that, Chair.
That's grand, thank you, Martina. Members, anything further they want to raise on clause 15, code of practice? Paul?
Yeah, so the first week this was launched, we had all the managers and owners, proprietors on the phone with us. This week we've had ordinary staff. So you can see how it's trickling down, the concern. So this is now the great big concern of this bill, basically. Everything else seems to have shrunk into insignificance compared to this. So I suppose my question, and we maybe covered this week through commencement, and I can't remember because my brain's quite primitive, but the difference between clause 14, the levy, and clause 15 is that basically 14 is the department may make regulation, and then of course you have that safeguard of the assembly. But in 15 it's just basically the department must issue one or more codes. So my question is to give the committee, and I can't speak for the committee, but to give the committee and I suppose the Assembly reassurance, would it be best to put this in regulation also, so that at least the Assembly gets another look at this by way of regulation? So I don't know now how that would work, because commencement would still kick in the same day or such days as the Department of Committees made by order of point. But I suppose when you have the final draft code of practice, is there a way or a means of then making regulation on that, which then would come before the Assembly?
I don't know the direct answer to that. I suppose it's probably possible, but there is, as I explained on Thursday, there is a process to go through before the department could issue the codes. So in this case, we have said that we will do a further consultation, a longer consultation, once we get the views of the operators back in. And we've also explained that the power needs a commencement order before obviously we can issue any codes. And certainly, as a matter of good practice, the department would want to consult with the committee before it actually imposes any code. That's off the top of my head. I'll ask Kieran if he has any views on that. Please, Chair.
Yeah, my only immediate thought on that is that if we do it by regulation, if the regulation goes through, then that will actually have even more teeth, if you like. It will be more mandatory than it is now, if you see what I mean, because automatically it is now law. That's just my immediate thought on that, in addition to what Martinez said.
I suppose can I add to that, because I'm thinking as I talk. The fact too that you said last week that you could issue multiple codes of practice for specific topics probably would complicate that regulation by the fact you'd have to come probably every time, unless you did it in a block. And then of course if you were wanting to amend any code of practice, it would probably mean something similar. You'd have to come before the Assembly. So I haven't got to the end of my thought process on this, but I do think people are still really concerned and worried about this, and worried about what it could mean for the industry and what the department could do on the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing to say is that certainly we will take that away and we'll get a definitive answer for you on that. But overall, codes of practice are not normally done by means of regulation, because they are a guide or interpretation usually of the law, and they're there to help people comply with the law. That would be my kind of general view on that. And I've lost my train of thought, sorry. So we will come back. Oh yes, the reason, one of the main reasons why the code has been drafted and why we've included that provision is that the Minister listened to the concerns raised by a number of people about how limited the 85 order is. So this was an attempt to take on board those issues which we can't necessarily put in the 85 order at the moment. And also a lot of what is within the code is currently good practice and being already being done by many operators. But we will take away your suggestion, and we'll think through again whether or not we can do something further on that.
And just to be clear and to be fair, Martina, I'm not saying it is the right thing to put in regulations. It's just my thought process and just putting it out there just to tease it out, if you like. I'm not saying one way or the other that I think it's the right way to go. I'm not. So rest easy on that regard. It's just teasing out the issue.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, Kieran.
No, I just want to add that what we've put out now is quite a large document or set of documents, but just thinking ahead, some of the codes that could go out in the future when you talk could be very small indeed.
Yeah.
You know, it's something around under 18s or children, or it may be that we take one section of a code and amend a sentence in it and consult on it. So I don't necessarily, again, we have to think this out, but thinking ahead, I don't necessarily see us putting out large reams of codes all the time. It may be just some issue that comes up that then we look at and decide to either put in the code or update or amend one of the codes, and that could be a sentence or two. Yeah. So again, that's another thought behind why it's not in regulation at the moment.
Yes.
But as you say,
so there's this balance between agility, caring for the needs of the industry, and of course gambling, and then obviously the safeguards, and it's making sure we've just got that balance right.
Okay, I'm going to move to Andy and then Kelly. Andy?
Yeah, Chair, just two points really, and I haven't considered this. Obviously, Paul has just raised it, but and obviously it may move away the agility of the department. But you could be looking at any draft code could be approved by resolution of the Assembly rather than regulations, but it may not provide the agility for small amendments to any code. Can I just clarify also, and apologies if I've missed this at previous briefings, when the consultation will actually be live on the draft code?
The consultation is live. It may not be on our website as yet. We did provide, I think in last week, we provided the list of consultees. So we've already alerted a broad range of people. So that would include obviously the industry, but health, and Kieran can probably rhyme them off a lot quicker than me, but it's a broad range of people. And yes.
The reason I asked that, Martina, is I've actually been contacted by people in the industry who are saying that they haven't been made aware nor seen sight of the consultation.
Well, we have got, I mean, again, look at, we can refer you to some of those in the industry we send out to are the kind of broad representative umbrella bodies, and we would look to them to cascade. But we have certainly, I think if you look at the industry, you certainly see we've covered a very broad brush. But again, it should be up on our website in the next, even today or tomorrow, next day or so. And also, if anyone hasn't got it and wishes to get a copy, we're happy for them to contact us, and we'll issue it out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And what I would say as a comment, I'm not asking for an answer to this, is that's very poor given the scale of the draft code. But can we get a copy of that consultation link once it's available on the website, please?
Certainly, and I would just say that one of the reasons why we can't write to all operators is that we only hold the names and addresses of those operators that we license. So that's a very small section, but take your point, certainly.
Martina, the bit that concerns me, though, no, absolutely, and I appreciate that. I'm not asking for every single person to be written to. The bit that concerned me was when they went onto the website to look for the consultations on the department's consultation page, it wasn't there. And obviously, naturally, this has caused a great deal of concern within the wider sector. They wanted to go and provide their views on a number of areas that are important to the department in getting this right, and it wasn't available.
No, take your point fully, and all I would say on the why it's not on the website, it takes a few days. It's not us personally, it's another branch that does that. And so it takes a few days to get through the formatting and stuff, but take your point entirely on that.
Can I just then add on to that, just for clarification of anybody that might be listening in to this morning? It's a 6-week consultation process. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
So just to let people know that it's not long.
Consultation ends on the 25th of February, I think it is.
Yeah, I remember seeing it in our papers last week or the week before. No, that's fine. Can we move on to Andy? You finished? Yeah.
Yeah, Chair, thanks.
Kelly?
Thanks very much, Chair. Thank you, Martina and Karen. I just wanted to clarify for myself, just when Paul has brought up whether the codes are better as a code or regulations, just so I can satisfy myself, where it says the code does not of itself make a person liable to criminal or civil proceedings. What I wanted to ask is, so if, say, for instance, a council is reviewing someone's licence and there have been complaints made, and those complaints have shown that someone has not complied with a code, can the council legally then use that evidence to take away a licence? Now, I know it's admissible in evidence, but is it actually, because it's not regulation, because it is a code and is an interpretation, can that be used as evidence to take away the licence, or would that be open to a JR?
No, we believe that it would be taken into account by a court or a council who are issuing a licence.
Okay, but I'm just wondering, because just where it says a failure to comply with the provision of the code does not in itself make a person liable for criminal or civil proceedings, but it's actually for taking their licence away. Is that okay? You're satisfied that that works? Yeah, okay.
Yes, Kieran might want to comment further, but we're satisfied that if where there have been any complaints about the operator, they'll obviously come to the department, most likely in the first instance. We will then liaise with the court or the council, whichever of those two that issued the licence. So they should be aware of any complaints or ongoing allegations about an operator, and they should then, I would imagine, take that into account. But Kieran might want to add something to that.
Yeah, it's just that the codes are a tool to help them make a judgment, and there is this, which Martina mentioned earlier. There is this issue of the fitness of a person to hold a licence or a certificate or permit, so they can make a judgment, and the code is a tool to help them make a judgment around fitness. Fitness is already within the terms of the assessments that courts and councils and so on must make before issuing or deciding on whether to revoke a licence or refuse to renew it.
And can I just ask then, with regards to these complaints and where they're held, with regard, if a council is making a decision about a licence, so say for instance I'm in Ards in North Down and there's been a complaint made against me and I'm applying for a licence, but the complaint was made against a premises that I have in Enniskillen. How much of that complaint will be shared from Omagh and Fermanagh Council across to Ards and North Down so that they can facilitate their decision making about licences, where it's across, a licence holder actually operates across a number of council areas?
So the operator, regardless of where they live, would be applying to the court or council in which the premises is based.
Yeah.
So any information about those premises would be with the council. In terms of complaints about the operator's premises in other councils, we would have to have a think about that, Kelly, but I would I think we'd have to think about that one.
Yeah, I'm just
for
thinking
you.
about the data sharing on that, because it's important.
Yeah.
If you have somebody who's been a bit naughty in one area and has complaints and they say stuff, that'll shift to another area.
Aye.
It's just to make sure they carry across and all the councils are aware. No, that if you could have a look at that, just to make sure
We'll have a look at that.
data sharing, because the pivotal role or the pivotal contact in all of this is the department, so it depends where that information's held. My last question then is just about this code of practice. So the department can revise and revoke this code of practice, and of course you can update that. It's back to the consultation piece again. How can we be absolutely certain that in future, when there are these revisions or something's being revoked, that there's a fair consultation? So I'm thinking about the people who are impacted by gambling and the industry itself, because it's in the industry's, they have a vested interest to reply to consultations. But if you're a charitable organisation that's supporting family members who've maybe lost someone as a result of their gambling addiction, they're not big, massive professional organisations. How can the department ensure then that they're getting enough consultation responses to have a balance?
Well, we have contacted, we have sent the code to a number of organisations that deal with people impacted, and we also have sent it to the Institute of Public Health Agency, etc. So we would expect the government type agencies to at least cover the interests of those impacted. And I suppose we can think further about how we would attempt to get views of others. And I suppose in normal circumstances, you would probably have some sort of consultation event which would pick up those views a bit better. And certainly that's something that we will take on board whenever we come to do the next stage of the consultation on this. This is really a pre-design, I suppose, to use the modern definition. We did call it a consultation, but it's really a pre-design engagement with stakeholders with a view to then doing a more formal and detailed consultation, which, as I said, would likely include a couple of events where we would pick up a broader range of views, maybe not as formal as a written response.
Yeah, it's just because, as we have talked about, the location of where some of the problem areas are, would involve anything from retail NI to food and drink. But I'm thinking as well, we're going through obviously the charity legislation at the moment, the charity list. There's a list of all the charities there. Not all of them, of course, will be dealing with gambling, but there will be at least a list there that will include those charities that do. Sometimes I find that the consultee lists get a bit stale, so it's just when these revisions are happening in the future that there's an update done by the department, because quite often I've found in the past, not necessarily with communities, but other departments, that there isn't a refresh of the list with the department proactively going and looking. It's always assumed that others will find, where that consultee list and add themselves or get themselves added to it. That would be really appreciated, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the staleness of the list sometimes, and not targeted either, but certainly we will look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, members. We're going to then move on if there's no one else wants to raise an issue around clause 15 at this stage. Nope, okay. We're going to move on then to clause 16, which is short title and commencement. Members, anything further that they want to add on that? I know we had a bit of chat, I don't remember, it was in closed session maybe last week, about the clause 7, which some of us felt is probably one of the more important clauses in the bill, if not the young person's one, remind me, yes, and that the commencement of that. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else. Members, anything they want to bring up?
No.
Commencement or short title? No? All right. Okay, anything further from yourself, Martina, on that? Nope. Okay.
No, Chair.
All right, then we'll move on then to the schedule, and then I'm going to ask you, Martina, to highlight again any key points in the responses to issues raised around the schedule.
I'll just ask Kieran to take you through the schedule.
Fran, thank you.
Right, bear with me.
That doesn't sound good, Kieran, when you start shuffling and say, "Bear with me." I think we're in for a long
I'm
session
shoving
then.
from one paper to another. The schedule, I think I went over this before, the schedule should be read in conjunction with clauses 8 and 11. The problem, again, at the moment, under the 1985 order, a person has to buy a product or service to qualify for entry into a non-scale prize competition. And it isn't generally considered a free draw. It constitutes instead an illegal lottery. And Article 132 contains some fairly stiff penalties for running illegal lotteries. In terms of the schedule 15A, it attempts to define in law what does and does not constitute payment to participate. This way we can provide. We can prevent certain types of lost draws, but allow others for the first time. So if we take the meaning of payment in paragraphs 2 to 4 of the schedule, basically we want to make it clear that what we mean by payment for the purposes of constituting a lottery, which means pay money, transfer money's worth, or where the actual cost of entry to a draw is included or added to the normal purchase cost of a product or service. Paragraph 4, we want to make it clear that if a customer doesn't know what an entry cost has been, doesn't know that an entry cost has been included in the price of a product, it still counts as paying to participate and therefore is still a lottery and illegal. On paragraph 5, stamps, telephone calls. What we're trying to do here then is to say that the normal or ordinary costs of a phone call, postage or other communication won't count in future as paying to participate and therefore will be allowed for those kind of draws. Paying to know whether a prize has been won or payment to claim a prize, paragraphs 6 to 7. Again, the intention there is to make it clear that if a person has to pay cash or is charged in some way to find out the result of a competition, or if they've won, that's a payment to participate and therefore is a lottery under clauses 8 to 11. Paragraph 8, basically here we're trying to prevent people from being automatically entered into commercial prize draws or competitions. Under paragraph 8, we want people to have a means of indicating whether or not they want to be entered into a particular draw. So that's a distinction between automatic qualification and automatic entry. And then the power to make regulations in paragraph 9 gives the department a new power to make regulations around any kind of new, novel, contentious or highly unusual types of draws or competitions. Now, we also have covered the schedule in the explanatory memorandum as well. If you wish me to go through that, I can.
Members want Kieran to go through that, yeah?
It's a pretty meaty amendment to the memorandum, so it wouldn't do any harm, Kieran.
Right, okay. Well, I think just to take you back on the explanatory memorandum, at clauses 8 and 11 of the explanatory memorandum, we've added a new sentence which is to guide the reader to Schedule 15A, because I think maybe that wasn't sufficiently clear in the original how important Schedule 15A is. So at the end of page 7, clause 8, you'll see new Schedule 15A sets out both the meaning of payment to enter under the 1985 order, as well as the forms of payment or expenses to participate in prize competition arrangements that are not included in Article 131. And then there's a similar sentence on page 9, top of the page, new schedule for Article 168, clause 11. The new Schedule 15A sets out both the meaning of payment to enter under the 1985 order, as well as the forms of payment or expenses to participate or enter in prize competitions that are not, again, included in Article 168. And then on the end, we have the section on Schedule 15A, lotteries and competitions, requirements to pay in order to participate. I think on the top of page 12 is probably the most important paragraph of the lot, because it specifies, new Schedule 15A specifies that references to paying in order to participate in new Articles 1312 and 1682A exclude normal rate expenses of sending a letter or using any other method of communication to participate in the arrangement. And it says the normal purchase costs of paying for goods or services are also excluded from the meaning of payment under new Articles 1312 and 1682A. So that's broadly trying to make clear, and it goes further through about payment to goods, and it's essentially setting out more clearly what is and does not constitute payment to participate. And we've used examples such as, newspaper, chocolate bar, hospitality, financial services, as best worked as we can within the framework of an EFM. Okay.
All right, folks. Anything any member wants to highlight, Paul?
Yeah, so again, this is a meaty amendment. I should know this, but I can't recall. Do you have to bring amendments to the EFM to the floor of the Assembly, or can you just do that on BAT?
It's updated every stage.
Sorry, did you hear me there? Can you do this just off BAT, or do you actually have to go through the Assembly?
OLC has to clear it, and then at the next stage, when it's scheduled, as I understand the process, the bill and any amendments is published on the Assembly website, and members will get a copy of any revisions. So technically, I guess, yes, it goes to the Assembly, the floor of the Assembly.
We don't actually vote on it, do we? No.
No, not to my knowledge. You don't vote on it because it's explanatory. It's not. It's an interpretation.
It's not part of the bill. It's not normally part of the bill, but it does go up on the Assembly website.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And again, I get that you're stuck within the parameters of what how an EFM should read. So it's still in regulatory language. So whilst you can pick it out, and if you're learned and trained in this sort of type, then you can pick it out. That means that someday, an ordinary bank account holder on the street, and probably your average bank manager or head of branch, might not necessarily pick it up or read it right. So again, that's probably where the leaflet, the information leaflet, will be so important in this regard.
It will.
It will, Paul.
But I do thank you for listening to me and the committee and putting this pretty big change into the EFM. I think that, I welcome it.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Anything further? No? Okay, I think that's us completed for now. Thank you, Martina and Kieran, for that. I know that you'll be back with us later then again, whenever we're going through the official clause by clause. But in the meantime, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, can I then propose then that we go into closed session, and have our final discussion with Claire McCanney. As I said, we will be returning then to public session to do the official, our formal clause by clause. So members agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you.
30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly.
Okay, we're back in public session again, so I'm going to ask you to turn now to agenda item 5, which is a clause-by-clause consideration of the Betting, Gaming, Lotteries and Amusements Amendment Bill. So members, the committee will now commence the formal clause-by-clause consideration of the Betting, Gaming, Lotteries and Amusements Amendment Bill. And Kieran and Martina from the department should be there as well on, yeah, are they? Okay, and if we can keep all of the members in, because I need to hear them indicate to me that they agree. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I don't think there was any final queries for Kieran or Martina before we get started. Sure there wasn't? No? Nothing? No members? Just, yeah, we can kick on? All right. Okay, then we'll move then straight into clause 1, which is the interpretation. So can I then ask, is the committee content with clause 1 as drafted?
Content.
Okay, then I'll say that the committee is content with clause 1 as drafted. Members content we move on to clause 2? Okay, clause 2, opening of licensed offices on Sunday and Good Friday. Can I then ask, is the committee content with clause 2 as drafted? Paul?
Chair, can I just say I'm not content for a number of reasons. One, with regards to Sunday opening, but also the fact that Public Health Agency and the Institute of Public Health both raised concerns around the worsening of existing harms, and that's enough for me not to be content with clause 2.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So we will, Stephen, you wanted to come in?
Yes, Chair, I might just echo those comments. I do share similar concerns, and I suppose just in reading the evidence from Gambling with Lives and, as Paul has mentioned, the Institute of Public Health in Ireland, I just don't believe that increasing the availability and accessibility of gambling opportunities is the best way to deal with the gambling problem and the issue of problem gambling that we do have in Northern Ireland. So I would not content to support clause 2 as it stands at the minute. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, members, we have a division here within the committee on clause 2. So I'm going to first ask the question of members that are for or clause 2 are content with clause 2 as drafted to please. So I'm just going to go down the list here. So first on my list is Aisling. Aisling, are you there? I don't know if you're there or not. No. Okay, I'm going to move on to Ciara.
Yes, I am content in relation to clause 2 and Sunday opening, given the fact that in the consultation the majority of people, overwhelming majority, in the response to that consultation agreed with it. Taking into account what Stephen and Paula says, obviously with regards to the impact it may have, it's about providing as much support as possible in relation to those affected by it, and that's kind of a key priority there for us, and I'm sure that will, the intention of the bill will be to ensure also that additional support can be provided with regards to the other areas of the bill. So I am content. Thank you.
Thanks, Ciara. Mark, are you content with clause 2 as
Yeah,
drafted?
I think they've made the point last week in terms of understanding the concerns of others. They're probably amplified or magnified, given that the bill does so little around protections and actually reducing gambling harm. Of course, there'll be concerns around increasing access. However, I always have approached this particular clause or this aim of the bill in terms of fairness. And whenever people are able to bet online every hour of every day, and even in my own constituency, a border constituency, people can nip over the border on a Sunday and do a bet. I think it's actually costing the Northern Ireland economy money as well by us continuing to prohibit bookmakers to open here on a Sunday.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Then move to Stephen. Are you content with the clause as drafted?
No,
Thank
Chair,
you.
just as outlined there.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, Aisling, I did see you come back on there again. Just see if Aisling's there. Aisling, are you content with the clause as drafted?
Yes, I'm content.
Thank you, Aisling. Okay, then I'm going to move to the room and I'm going to go to Kelly Armstrong. Are you content with the clause as drafted?
Content.
Thank you, Kelly. Andy, are you content with the clause as drafted?
Content, Chair.
Thank you, Andy. And then Paul, are you content with the clause as drafted?
Not content.
Okay, that's okay. Members, therefore we had a split vote within the committee, albeit the committee voted in favour of the clause.
Paula, you have.
Oh, I haven't done myself. Sorry, yeah, I always forget that. I forgot that the last time too. So I will then. I'm not content with the clause as drafted. So we have 3 members not content, and 5 members who have said that they are content with the clause as drafted. So therefore, what way does that? That's then the committee divided on it, but it was 5-4 and 3 against.
Yeah, we just
Okay.
reflect that in the
All
section of the report.
All right, then we're going to move on to clause 3, which is Sunday working in licensed offices. Can I then ask, is the committee content with clause 3 as drafted? Content?
Yeah.
Content.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move to clause 4, pool betting. Can I then, sorry, I didn't say after that last one. Sorry, I'm going back to clause 3. So I then need to say that the committee is content with clause 3 as drafted. I'll then move on to clause 4, which is pool betting. Can I ask, is the committee content with clause 3 as drafted? Content?
Content.
Yeah. Okay, then I will say then that the committee is content with clause 3 as drafted. Clause 5 then, or sorry, clause 4 is drafted. It says clause 3 on my, sorry. Look, I'm going to go back and do this again because it's slightly wrong. I'm going to go back to clause 4. Apologies, folks. So clause 4, pool betting.
Sorry.
I'm going to ask then, is the committee content with clause 4 as drafted?
Content.
Content, then I will say then that the committee is content with clause 4 as drafted. If we move on then to clause 5, persons who may participate in bingo at the bingo club, then can I ask, is the committee content with clause 5 as drafted?
Content.
Content.
Content, then I will read then that the committee is content with clause 5 as drafted.
Apologies, Chair, those numbers have been
Right.
copied down.
Can we move on then to clause 6, which is days when bingo and use of gaming machines permitted in bingo club premises? Can I then ask, is the committee content with clause 6 as drafted?
Chair, I'm not content.
Okay.
Chair as well, not content.
All right then, I will then put this again. I'll go round everybody and just ask if you're content. So I'm going to start in the room this time. So I'll go to Kelly Armstrong. Are you content with clause 6 as drafted?
Content.
Thank you, Kelly. Andy Allen, are you content with clause 6 as drafted?
Content, Chair.
Thank you. Paul Frew, are you content with clause 6 as drafted?
Not content, Chair.
Okay. Then I will go to Mark Durkin. Are you content with clause 6 as drafted?
Content.
Thank you, Mark. Stephen Dunn, are you content with clause 6 as drafted?
Not content, Chair.
Thank you. Ciara Ferguson, are you content with clause 6 as drafted?
Content, Chair.
Thank you, Ciara. And then Aisling Riley, are you content with clause 6 as drafted?
Content, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Aisling. Okay, members, then we have a division in the committee again. We have 5 members in favour. Again, I haven't asked myself. I'm being told here at the back of the room. I am not content with the clauses drafted. So we have 5 members who are content, and 3 members who are not, and that will be reflected then in the committee report. Okay, can we move on then to clause 7? Offence of inviting, etc., persons under 18 to play gaming machines. So can I ask the committee, are you content with clause 7 as drafted?
Content.
Content.
Okay then, thank you. Then I'll read that the committee is content with clause 7 as drafted. We'll move on then to clause 8, which is arrangements not requiring persons to pay to participate. Can I then ask, is the committee content with clause 8 as drafted?
Content.
Content. Thank you. Then I'll read that the committee is content with clause 8 as drafted. Moving on to clause 9, rules for society lotteries. Can I ask the committee, are you content with clause 9 as amended by the department?
Content.
Content.
Okay. Then I'll read that the committee is content with clause 9 as amended. Moving on then to clause 10, qualifications by age, residence or corporate status for licences, certificates and permits. And I'll ask, is the committee content with clause 10 as drafted?
Content.
Content, yeah.
Content, thank you. And I'll read that the committee is content with clause 10 as drafted. Moving on then to clause 11, prize competitions not requiring persons to pay to participate. Can I ask, is the committee content with clause 11 as drafted?
Content.
Content. Okay, then I'll read that the committee is content with clause 11 as drafted. Moving on then to clause 12, cheating. Can I ask, is the committee content with clause 12 as drafted?
Content.
Content, yeah.
Thank you. Then I'll read that the committee is content with clause 12 as drafted. Moving on then to clause 13, enforceability of gambling contracts. Can I ask, is the committee content with clause 13 as drafted?
Content. Content.
Thank you. Then I'll read that the committee is content with clause 13 as drafted. Moving on then to clause 14, industry levy. Can I ask, is the committee content with clause 14 as amended by the department?
Content.
Content.
Thank you.
Content.
I read then that the committee is content with clause 14 as amended by the department. We'll move on then to clause...
No.
Sorry, Mark, did you... No?
I don't want to go over old ground. I'm content with how it's drafted. I'm just not content that it does anywhere near enough or goes anywhere far enough. But no, content with how it's drafted. Yeah.
Okay, then we'll move on then to clause 15, which is code of practice. Can I ask, is the committee content with clause 15 as drafted by the department?
Content. Content.
Content, okay. Then I'll read that the committee is content with clause 15 as drafted by the department. Moving on then to clause 16, short title and commencement. Can I ask then, is the committee content with clause 16 as drafted by the department?
Content.
Content?
Content, yeah.
Thank you very much. Then I'll read that the committee is content with clause 16 as drafted by the department. Then we'll move to the schedule. Can I ask, is the committee content with the schedule as drafted by the department?
Content?
Content.
Thank you. Then I'll read that the committee is content with the schedule as drafted by the department. Moving on then to the long title. Can I ask, is the committee content with the long title as drafted by the department?
Content.
Content.
Okay, thank
Content.
you. Then I
Content.
will read then that the committee is content with the long title as drafted by the department. Members, that concludes the formal clause by clause, and the committee team will now finalise the draft committee report and get it out as soon as possible. Are members content to meet tomorrow afternoon? Are we still doing that? Okay. Are members content to meet tomorrow afternoon for a fully virtual meeting? It'll be at 2:30 to consider the draft report only. This will allow the team to make any changes we request and bring the final version to us on Thursday, as the report must be laid in the business office on Friday. So our members agreed with that. So it's fully virtual meeting tomorrow at 2:30.
Chair, I may not be able to make it, but once I get the report, if there's any comments, I can forward those through to the clerk. Yeah.
That's fine. Thanks, Kelly, for that. Okay, members, then I'm going to cover agenda item 6 now regarding the next meeting, and then I would ask you to go into a further short closed session, just so that we can go through the draft recommendations paper and the committee report. So agenda item 6 is date, time and location of our next meeting. Our next meeting will take place then, as agreed, tomorrow, Wednesday the 20th of January 2022 at 2:30 p.m, where a virtual meeting links will be sent to members in order for them to access the meeting. So our members now agreed that we go back into closed session?
Agreed.
Agreed, thank you.
Agreed.
This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly